Thank you for attending the SBIR 101 virtual workshop. My name is Mary Carden and I am the director of the Utah Industry and Innovation Center. We're pleased to have you with us today. Let's get started. Today we're going to cover how the Utah Industry and Innovation Center participates in all the programs, the federal SBIR-STTR program itself, solicitations and topics, qualifications for your company and team, how to find a champion, commercialization, and the next steps. The Utah Industry and Innovation Center supports key industries in the state, as well as helps with SBIR-STTR services. Those industries are advanced manufacturing and aerospace and defense, which is overseen by Chanel Flores. Linda Cabrales leads the efforts with financial services and software and IT. And April Young-Bennett leads the way for life sciences and healthcare. Ashley King is our Outreach Services Director, and Linda, April, and myself all work directly with SBIR-STTR services. The SBIR-STTR services are offered to Utah companies only as we are paid through the legislature and taxpayer dollars. We assist in all aspects of the SBIR and STTR work. When you work closely with our center, we have a better than 25% win rate, which is nearly double the national average. We have helped bring over $43 million to Utah companies in non-equity position funding. And we're very happy to say that we are proud winners of the SBA's Tibbetts Award, the highest award given to anyone working in the SBIR-STTR space. The SBIR-STTR program is over $3.7 billion annually. This is mandated by Congress, as is the funding level. So SBIR is Small Business Innovation Research, started almost 40 years ago, which says that any agency that spends more than $100 million on extramural research has to put in 3.2% of that money at this point to the SBIR program. About 10 years after the SBIR program started, the STTR program was launched, which is Small Business Technology Transfer. They operate largely the same, and you're going to hear SBIR for the most part today. But STTR is for any agency that spends more than $1 billion in extramural research, that is research outside their agency, has to put in just under 0.5%, 0.45, to the SBIR-STTR program, and that's where the $3.7 billion annually comes in. As I mentioned, the best benefit of this program is that it is non-equity position dollars, meaning you have no loss of technology ownership, no loss of IP, and you do not have to pay back the funds. You see there is in parentheses a national emergency, and that is when the SBIR program is in place if the federal government needs the work that they're helping to fund, needs the technology that they're helping to fund. They will license that technology from you and then license it back when they're done. This has happened only once. That's with night vision goggles, and it's been at least 2 decades. We bring it up because it was not clean. It was what we call sticky, but they believe that they've cleaned it up. Again, it has only happened once, but we do mention it. And it isn't anything that you're not going to know about if you win an SBIR. It's very straightforward, and you'll see that in your information. But non-equity position dollars, no loss of technology, no loss of IP, and no payback of funds. There are 11 agencies that fit into the SBIR-STTR program, and each agency designates the research and development topics and aspects of their proposal on their specific deadlines. Those agencies are agriculture, commerce, defense, education, energy, health and human services, often referred to as NIH, Homeland Security, transportation, the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, NASA, and the National Science Foundation, which we refer to as NSF. So these are the 11 agencies participating in the program. Those that are bold also participate in the STTR. Remember, $1 billion puts you in the STTR program. Those in bold participate in both SBIR and STTR, and that is Defense, Energy, Health and Human Services, NASA, and the National Science Foundation. This is a 3-phase program. The first phase we refer to as the dating phase. It's the startup phase to prove feasibility. 6 months long for an SBIR, 12 months for STTR, $150,000 to $256,000. So some good money, but not a lot. We as I say, we're dating, kind of getting to get to know each other. We're exploring the technical merit or feasibility of an idea or technology. After you win a phase 1, you're eligible to participate in phase 2. For the most part, that's the only way to get to phase 2. There are a few exceptions. Phase 2 is for research and development, expanding the results of phase 1. These are up to 2 years and offering $750 to $1.5 million over the 2-year time frame. There are a few agencies that are less than 750 and 1 or 2 that have an opportunity for more than 1.5. Not always, but there is a little bit. The commercialization potential is 40% of the win in phase 2, and that's one of the primary factors of an SBIR and STTR program. These are monies that are helping you to build your technology so that you can bring them to market, not just to turn on the light, but to bring the light to market. So it's very important that you have commercialization. We're going to talk about that throughout the proposal. We're going to talk about that throughout the workshop, Phase 3, a little bit of a misnomer. This is where the innovation moves into the marketplace. You're asking for private sector work or non-SBIR money. The exception to that is the DoD, who actually is looking to buy your technology through the SBIR program, as is NASA. But most others do not buy your product. They're looking for you to take that into the marketplace. This is the budget breakdown. The largest player is the Department of Defense, with just $1.75 billion. Health and Human Services is just $1.1 billion, a little under. Department of Energy, just about $300 million. NASA, $200 million. NSF, $1.75 million. And then all others are falling into the rest of the pie. The USDA, Homeland Security, Department of Commerce, Department of Transportation, Department of Education, and the Environmental Protection Agency. What we encourage you to do is, if you have a device that's going to help clean our air or make our engines cleaner, and you need to apply for the EPA, that's where you need to apply. There might be an opportunity within the DoD, there might be an opportunity within SF for that as well. But don't go for an agency because it has more money. Go for the agency that best matches your technology. Is your company eligible? The SBA sets down the specifications for this. That's who oversees the SBIR-STTR program. So if your company is for-profit with 51% ownership by individuals who are citizens or permanent residents of the U.S. with 500 or fewer employees, then you are eligible to participate in this program. For those of you who may be listening to this who have participated in the SBIR program previously, you have to meet performance benchmarks. If you have 15 SBIR phase 1s and have not moved to phase 2, you will be put in a blackout period. But there aren't too many people that qualify for that, but we do bring it up here. To work with the Utah Industry and Innovation Center, you have to have a Utah business license because, again, we are funded through the state legislature. So if you are a for-profit company with 51% owned by individuals who are citizens of the or residents of the U.S., permanent residents, and 500 or fewer employees, then you are eligible for this program. The agencies each put out their particular solicitations or calls for proposals. Collectively, there are between 20 and 26 a year. They differ in timing, and they can differ from year to year and often do. There can be one solicitation per agency or multiple, and they appear at any time. And we have a chart at the end that will talk about this a bit more. And of course, signing up for to get our emails is helpful. Is your technology eligible? When this program first began under the National Science Foundation through Mr. Roland Tibbetts, which is what the Tibbetts Award is named for, they wanted important or critical inventions and innovations that may not be considered by other types of venture funding. They wanted high risk, early stage. That's what this was for. Examples that have come through the program are the GPS system. The Qualcomm chip started on SBIR money. The flying car is something we like to put in because this has largely been funded through SBIR funds, and we believe will be part of what we're doing in the future. Not a too distant future to say that. But they also want a better life vest. the National Institutes of Health, through the CDC, have asked for a Better Life Vest for 3 years, saying that 10,000 people a year die from drowning, and they're drowning because they're not putting on their life vest, and they're not putting on their life vest because they're cumbersome and ugly. So give us something better. Now, is that high risk, early stage? Certainly not. So we ask you to do not self-select out. Talk to us about your technology and how it might fit. Let's make sure that we can find a fit for you in one of these programs. So, how do we do that? We find a topic at SBIR.gov. SBIR.gov has all information on this program. This is run by the SBA, and we're going to go ahead and go to SBIR.gov and do a little bit of searching here so that you can get an idea of what this is about. Okay, if we can see that, that will be great. So let's go here to funding and then topic areas. Here we can put in search words. We can see here, let me just go through this quickly. On the left, we have open, future, and closed, and we're going to pay attention to what's open now. So let me put in robotics and search. So here we see we have had 27 results, and we can scan quickly to see the agency that is participating, its open, due, and close date, which is of course coming right up. And then you have an opportunity to actually look at the detail. This is the National Science Foundation within artificial intelligence. And you remember that National Science Foundation is pretty broad, also in educational opportunities with NSF, industrial system, including robotics, agriculture, and NSF is just all about it. And here's robotics itself, very exciting. So we have some opportunities to look here to see if we have something to fit that fits our technology. Now, additionally, let's go to closed topics under robotics. And the reason that we want to do this is we want to find the person that's responsible for these technologies. So we have quite a few things from the Department of Defense that closed in August or just recently on October 22nd. And if we look at these, we're going to be able to see the details that they wanted, find the person that's responsible for this particular call, and ask her or him if there's an availability. How did it go? What's going on? Now, something that was done just within the last few months, they're not going to know that yet, but if you have something that works that was over a year old or so, you can contact them and see what's going on. So you want to look both at open and closed through SBIR.gov. All right, let's go back to the presentation. Okay. Once you find that topic, you will find a champion, and that champion is going to be your best friend. You want to contact these program officers, remembering that this is their job, to begin a two-way dialogue and perhaps create your own SBIR, because we don't always find what we're looking for, but we can find people who are interested in the areas that we're looking at. So what you're doing is you're not calling them on the phone, and you're not sending them an arbitrary email, but rather you're sending them an email with an executive summary and an introduction. So this is in the place of that phone call. This has 4 sections. We suggest technology innovation, the area that you're working in and what your innovation is, the technical objectives and challenges that you would implement in your phase 1, market opportunity for the invention, for the technology, and your company and team. The National Science Foundation has quantified this into a project pitch, which is now required. And the NIH, rather than saying technical objectives, you want to say specific aims, and they have a document called exactly that they like to receive. This is something that we can edit, we can help you with, but you want to do this, write it up, give an idea of what you're doing, and then send it to that program director. And again, this is in place of a phone call. So then you can say, in the email, we're thinking of doing our invention and everything on it is going to be blue. And what do you think? And the person says, you know what, all we're interested in is red. We don't care about blue. Blue means nothing to us. If you can make it red, that would be just super great. Let's see if we can do that. see how we can change things. So again, that opens up that conversation. You can certainly call folks, but the best way to approach everyone is through email. This is what they're used to. This is what they prefer. That executive summary is a great introduction. Remembering again that SBIRs are not just about the technology, but how you're going to bring it to market. So generally, these are 2 pages. The first 500 words is the technology innovation. Second 500 words is technical objectives. And then 250 for market opportunity and company and team. That generally equals out to about 2 pages. The team is led by a principal investigator, which is a very common term if you've run through the academia, but outside of academia, not as well known. Principal investigator oversees the project and participates on it. They're not just standing at the sidelines. The PI, which will become part of your vernacular, must be employed by the business, must work for the company 51% of the time during the time of award, not when you're submitting necessarily, and cannot work full-time elsewhere. We are often asked if a PhD is beneficial, and the answer is the National Science Foundation kind of likes PhDs, and so does the Department of Health and Human Services. But what everyone wants are qualified individuals to lead the project and see it through. So it's very important that that's what you have. You'll notice that we have the word SBIR, must be employed by the business for SBIR, must work 51% of the time for an SBIR. That is not the case with STTR, and we're going to cover that in just a minute. So hold on. But right now we're talking about other team members. So you're creating a team, and this is going to be lean. You're a new company, you're starting out, you don't have a lot of folks. Everybody is a chief bottle washer and janitor, as well as CTO, CMO, CSO. So your team includes scientists, engineers, and innovators. That's a given. You understand that. You want experts in the industry to work with you, either as advisors or on the team itself. You're actually able to hire them. You want to include business persons, and that at this point might be an advisory role. You're not necessarily equipped or ready or necessarily needing a business person. But again, remember that commercialization. We want to have folks that can help us with this. So look to the future for marketing, regulatory, and business. Have advisors that you can point to. You can include their biosketch and resumes in the proposal to say, here's who we have who's going to lead us, and they're experienced in what they're doing. The other aspect is if you are a group of scientists and engineers who are making a biomedical device, you need to have physicians that can guide you and make sure that you're doing things the right way. Similarly, if you're having a device that helps people to learn and speak well, you want to have experts who understand that world if you are not that person. So make sure you have your team well-rounded to approach the SBIR. And we like to think of ourselves as part of your team. You're going to be sending us your documents, we hope, early and often, so that we can help and we can help guide you. We're going to talk about that as we move forward. The differences between an SBIR-STTR, I mentioned that just a moment ago, so let's talk about those. Within partnering, SBIR permits partnering. You may have a gap in your system and need to hire a consultant to work on your SBIR. It's absolutely fine. And STTRs require that you work with a nonprofit research institution. Now, that is a requirement. If you're a Utah company, that can be anywhere in the US. It does not need to be in Utah. Just to mention, all these dollars must be spent in the US. Nothing can go overseas. These are our federal tax dollars coming back to us. So the work requirement then, if you are permitted to partner, you choose to, you're limited to 33% in an SBIR in phase 1. You're limited to 50% in a phase 2 SBIR. STTRs, again, require partnering, and with that requirement comes a requirement that you spend 30% or more with the research institution partner. The small business must keep 40% on their side, and 30% you're going to dictate how that goes according to your budget and your needs of the project. The principal investigator, or PI, in an SBIR must be with the small business during the time of the award. When you apply, you may not be full-time with your company as the PI, and again, this is only the PI, but when you win, you must be full-time with the company and not work full-time elsewhere. Now, with an STTR, the PI can be employed by either the research institution or the small business. And oftentimes this is the reason that people choose STTR, because that PI can be at the research institution. And this is often the case when scientists at a university have started a company, but they can't yet leave their post at their university. So they start a company, but participate as a PI from the university side. There is an exception to this. The National Science Foundation requires that the PI be with the company for both the SBIR and STTR. So just be aware of that. And again, we know these nuances. We can help you with them. So be sure to work with us. Commercialization, we've said, very, very important. There are 4 elements: the market, this should include the US, and any outside markets that you plan on going to. It's fine to say what the world market is, but you also need to apply it to how you're going to work. If you're just going to, once you get your footing in the US, then just work in Europe, that's what you're going to want to talk about, or Asia, or however it works for you. The value proposition is how you're going to make money, and how you're going to move into the marketplace, how that's all going to work, who are your customers going to be, and what is your competition. Kiss of death for any SBIR is to say there is no competition. It shows the reviewers that you don't understand that this is being done somewhere by someone in a different way than what you're proposing, but generally things are getting accomplished. So you never want to say no one is doing this now. So it just almost tosses you out without, they don't pay attention to it as seriously as you would want them to. So in phase 1, we're going to demonstrate that we have a commercialization path, remembering that this money is looking for ideas to benefit America, and you must include something in your phase 1 in order to show that. So you're going to show that you have a market understanding, that you understand your competition, that you have potential partners, and that you have letters of support. Letters of support are not showing that you're a good person or that your company is super, but rather it's saying, if they build it, we're interested in coming. We're interested in participating. We know what this will do within our marketplace. So they're looking for letters of support in favor of commercialization, in favor of bringing your product to market. In phase 2, you're going to demonstrate you're going to present your phase 2 with commercialization path in place. Now that can be pretty rocky. If you're a new company, it's not going to be real solid, but you're going to show what you have. Are you going to license? Are you manufacturing? How are you going to bring it to market? Again, those letters of support are critical. Remembering that 40% of the win for a phase 2, again, $500,000 to $1.5 million, is commercialization. So we can help you with this. This is generally a separate 12-page document. How can you spend the money in an SBIR? Good news. Most of it goes to salaries and fringe benefits. So you're running a company, they expect you to do that. You can replace supplies. You cannot buy new equipment. You can lease equipment, which goes into overhead, which they expect you to have, overhead or F&A. And consultants are allowed, as we've discussed, up to 33% in an SBIR, and required for an STTR, 30% to the research institution. The wonderful part of your phase 1 and phase 2 is the fee or profit, which is generally 7%. And this you can spend on anything. And we always urge you to put that 7% in, keep it there, because you can literally spend it on anything. So if you do need to buy equipment, you can use that 7%. If you're looking to do something special, 7%, but you can spend it on your house, you can spend it on a vacation. They do not look at this money. It's yours to spend as you need to. Oftentimes it goes to these items, which are lawyers and patents or marketing. You can buy computers with that 7%, but you cannot spend the R&D money on computers. They expect you to be a company and going up. You cannot spend it on construction, creating a lab. And travel is very, very tricky. They don't want you going to conferences on their money. They want you to do R&D. The exception to that, there were 2 asterisks, one on lawyers and one on marketing, and that is that there's a new program called Technical and Business Assistance. It came in at the end of 2019, so it's really just getting some legs on it. This is TABA. And what's happened is that the federal government has allowed a certain amount of money to go to the TABA program so that they can help with market research, marketing, and legal which includes patents, recognizing that small businesses have this need. So there's an allowance for $6,500 in phase 1 and $50,000 in phase 2 that can go to these elements. Now, this has to be a contractor. This cannot be part of your company. This is money to help you. I think most folks are using it for legal, but I can't say that in phase 2. It often goes to market research and marketing. How it's used varies by agencies. Sometimes the funds are above the budget. It's an additional $6,500 for phase 1. Sometimes they're within the budget, so you're taking that out of the 150 to 256, but it's well worth it. Some are not offering this at all, but are offering other kinds of services. You must request TABA in your phase 1 proposal to receive it. You can't receive a phase 1 and say, oh, by the way, I need that $6,500. So you have to put it into the proposal to begin with, and we help you with all those details. So what are your next steps? We want you to engage the Utah Industry and Innovation Center. There's consultation office hours, which you're going to see that information coming up. We can help with all your summary reviews, making sure that everything comes together, and we provide you with a checklist of required tasks. This checklist is very critical. We get multiple requests for this all the time. We do these separately with each solicitation so that it synthesizes down the requirements, shows you exactly what font you should be on, where you need to register, how things are happening, and links to the products that you need. So it's very beneficial. You then need to do registrations, which is really your next step. Engage us with a consultation and get these registrations going. And this is the process. We're not going to discuss this in length. Safe to say, this can take up to 8 weeks and very often is taking 5 and 6. And it does not take 2 weeks. So you want to get started on this. The work is not from your side, it's from the federal side. That's just what's taking the time. So get started immediately right after this particular workshop is over. And one of our little clues here is however you register in DUNS, be sure to register your company name exactly the same way with all punctuation, spacing, etc., so that both systems see the name of the company as the same company. If you have Inc. period in DUNS, put Inc. period in SAM. Don't leave off that period at the end. If you do all caps in DUNS, do all caps in SAM. So you'll go through these registrations, again, can take weeks. And we want to make you aware that beginning in December of 2020, the DUNS number is going to be replaced by a unique entity identifier, UEI. That unique identifier will be requested and assigned by SAM. So this is expected to take place in December. It slipped a time or two, may slip into January, but we want to make you aware that that is going to happen. So reality check, this is going to take you 200 hours, we'll guarantee it, and that does not include pre-work. That does not include your contacting a program manager and of course your registration time. 150 hours for the second, third, and fourth because there's no cut and paste. Everything has to be written to that particular project. You're aligning all your documents to that particular ask for this non-equity position funding. Generally, not all the time, but generally, from the time a topic drops to the time that you're submitting is a 6 to 8 week time frame. So that 200 hours gets plowed into your already busy schedule. We want you to be aware of that. We suggest this is just a very brief look at a timeline, wherein when you start, you find a topic match, you're immediately calling us, and of course you're immediately calling that program manager with that executive summary, and you begin the submission process. We start right away. You want to outline the project with your entire team. You're answering the questions who, where, how, and of course you're hoping to get some program manager input. But you want to make sure that you've got everything outlined so that you can see if you have gaps. Who are you going to need to consult on a particular project, part of the project? How are you going to get the tasks done? Then once that's outlined, you've established folks that are going to help you. You want to get your resumes and biosketch from everybody who could work on this project so that at the end, if you suddenly decide to add someone, you're not looking for somebody and they're on vacation. So you get information from other people. And as we've mentioned, there's letters of support who are again supporting the commercialization. These are people that you have been talking to saying, hey, if I build this widget, Would you be interested in buying it? Or is this something that would help you and they are enthusiastic? You are going to then ask them for a letter of support that you write, you send to them, they can edit, they sign, and put on their letterhead. We can look at those letters of support, and we have templates for you. Additionally, consultants are required to have letters saying that they are indeed consulting with you. They don't just take your word for it. They want to see a letter from those people. So you're getting those things out. Outlining the project allows you then to move to starting to write the project, as well as your ancillary documents, of which they're going to be varied depending on the agency that you're working with. And you start drafting your budget. Very, very busy. Week 4, you're finalizing your ancillary documents and your letters of support so that those are all nicely placed, ready to go. You can start uploading them into your particular avenue, as each agency is different, but they're done, and you can rest on those and know that you're okay as you continue to work on your technical proposal. Week 5, that should be near final. You should have had folks read it to include us. All of these documents should come to us so that we can make sure they tie together, they speak to each other, and they complement each other. Your technical proposal and budget are finished in week 5, and you start on or further your submission site, making sure that that's right. In week 6, you're making sure that all your documents work together. You're just verifying that everybody's saying the same thing or everything is saying the same thing. And you do the summary or narrative. And the summary narrative is what's available to the public if you win. It is also what the reviewers see first. So we want you to do this at the very end, and it's generally just a 30-line document. It's very small, and so we tend to say, I'm going to do that right away. I know what my project is, and you do. But at the end of 5 weeks, you know it a lot better, and you know it a lot tighter. So it's imperative that you wait until the end. This is one of the reasons we think we have a higher winning rate, is you wait till the end and you know that project really well, and you're working on that. You're taking a solid afternoon and writing those 30 lines to make sure that you are making every word count and making it appeal to that reviewer. Make them want to read your proposal and want to fund it, because this is highly, highly competitive. Remembering that just 14 to 17% of the people who apply win. When you work with us, it's over 25%. You then do a final document check and you submit. You're always submitting early. We do not ever submit on the last day, because something goes wrong with your computer, something goes wrong with one of your documents, and you have no time, and there is no leeway. There is a time that they have to be delivered by, and if you don't do that, then you're in trouble. So work with us, and again, this is about 200 hours to get this all done. So the timeline itself, let's say that there is a release today of a phase 1 topic and we have a topic match. Within 6 weeks, we get to submit that proposal. So 6 weeks from today, we are submitting our phase 1, and we're waiting 3 to 6 months to get our money, and generally it's 6. If you get some questions in between, that's always a very good sign. The National Science Foundation generally sends out clarification questions. Many send out none. 6 months after the due date, they say, here's who's won. It's very interesting. They're all different. You work on your project 6 months for an SBIR, 12 months for an STTR, and at the end of that, you submit a final report, and you are paid, they hold out 20% until they get the final report, so that's great. And now you move on to phase 2, right? Most phase 1s move, you apply to phase 2. So you're submitting that right after your final report, and you wait in the valley of death, and because you have no money, you're waiting for your phase 2 to come through, and there's just no money left. But you are awarded, hopefully, 6 to 8 months after submission, and you work on your phase 2 for 2 years. And if you can move into phase 3 commercialization, that's just great. So you're saying, but wait, I'm not done. And what these arrows are showing you is this is where you're going to apply for additional phase 1s, right? You're going to continue to look for solicitations that match your technology, because you're going to continue your research and development. So you can apply for multiples, and we certainly encourage you to do that. After the win, you're going to do reports. Generally, it's 2 to 3 for a phase 1. Sometimes it's 7. You do them on time. You talk to your milestones and your dollars. It's your opportunity to make your contract manager your very best friend, which is always helpful. Keep them informed of what you're doing. It's fine to keep this federal money separate. You can use QuickBooks. It's necessary to keep it separate. Use QuickBooks, just a new tab, and spend it as you say you would or get written permission. So when are solicitations out? This is by department. The Department of Commerce, the Department of Defense comes out throughout the year. You're going to want to go to DOD, SBIR, and register for all those announcements. Also, after this, we will add your name to our list, or you can contact us at innovationutah@utah.gov to add your name. But DOD comes out a lot. Department of Education comes out once, generally in January. Department of Energy has two. We're expecting in July and November of 2020 and 2021. Department of Health and Human Services comes out once a year with with 3 due dates, January 5, April 5, and September 5. So it's out with 3 due dates running. Department of Homeland Security is expected in January, Transportation in March of 2021, EPA, June. And again, we've mentioned the National Science Foundation. You can submit anytime. There's a rolling deadline there. NASA is expected in November, and the USDA is expected in July. The Utah Industry and Innovation Center is here to help you with through consultation, solicitation searches. We provide guidance, evaluation, editing, and submission help with your proposals. The one thing that you don't see is writing. We find that you are the best people. You have the passion, you understand what you're doing, but we edit with the eye of a reviewer. We edit very hard. You get to do whatever you want. They're always your documents, but we're going to try to help you to present your best foot forward in the manner that they like to see it. When you work with us, the win rate is 25% or more, and we encourage you to participate early and often. We also provide workshops, we host panel discussions, regional conferences, and we bring in SBIR and STTR managers. If you'd like to sign up for our notifications, again, utah.innovation@utah.gov. This is our team. We're very happy to help you. You can email us again at innovationutah@utah.gov, and you'll find our on our website, you can register for our office hours. So we look forward to working with you in the future. And again, thank you for spending your time with us in this webinar. Have a great day.